Hey, it's Tim here from TMR with another video on our IFS kit chassis, and this time we're working on our front lower A-arm, so let's get into it. Okay, so in some of the previous videos for this series, I showed you everything from unboxing the parts, sanding and prepping. Kind of done enough of that, so this one just is kind of a deeper dive and we'll get right into it. So I'll show you kind of where things are at. So that's gonna be the driver's side A-arm, which I'll come back to in detail, but you'll see we got assembly prints here, another set of prints here, some basic hand tools. And then if we rip over here, here's another batch of parts. So lots of these parts are still gonna be going on this driver's side arm, and some more of them will be for the passenger side arm. So first step on these arms was welding a whole bunch of weld washers. So we've got some different thicknesses, and I'm gonna go back over to that completed A-arm so you guys can get a better idea of where they go on the part. I'll detail out here where these weld washers go, and this will help you guys in assembly. So picture front of the car, like I said, driver's side, that's gonna be outer knuckle up here. These two pivots are gonna be in at the chassis. So if I swing on over here, picture them at the outside driver tire. Thin weld washer here on this shock mount. Thick one on the inside here. I'll point to them with this rod so you can see. And then a thin one on that back side there. So again, thin, thick, thin. And then if we sneak in here, thin one here, and a thin one there. So hopefully that gives you a good idea and you can see exactly where those weld washers are sitting. So job number one, get them burnt up before you start putting all these plates into the fixture. After identifying those weld washers, I want to show you guys where all these spacers fit. So these spacers are part of the fixture kit, and they're all going to come numbered and tagged and labeled like this. So you've got number 5, slide on over here in this pocket. We got 1, 4, 7. Over in this pocket, we got 6, 3, and again, 1. So note those spacer orientations. That'll help you when bolting this all together. Now, in terms of how you bolt this all together, we're using threaded rods. So we got 5/8 here, and that's gonna be for the large bypass shock, 1/2 inch here for the coilover, and 1/2 inch here, that's for the sway bar connection. So you can see it's just threaded rod that passes through. You could buy a length and chop it down. You can get pre-made lengths on McMaster-Carr like we did, and then you just got a nut on each end. It's cheaper and a little easier than buying a bolt. That's obviously a bolt's gonna have to be that long to pass through there in one shot, so that's not ideal. Yeah, so this is the first time using a threaded rod like this. You'll see it again, we used it here, holding those spacers, and that works out really well for holding everything together. In terms of assembly to get us to this point, the instruction manual is going to help you out, but you're really going to want 2 guys. It's definitely a 2-man job. There's a lot of parts, and holding them all kind of at the right height while you get everything fixtured is key. So having this extra set of hands is going to be what you want, but you'll see kind of how it comes together here. I'm zoomed out here so you can see the whole arm, but what worked really well for us was passing the plates onto the threaded rod with the spacers in the right location one at a time. So it's kind of like this plate will go on first, threaded rod and spacers through it. This next plate here goes on. Again, you've got a spacer in there, but you can secure the threaded rod there. Then you can start feeding this threaded rod from the back, get this spacer on there, etc. And you're kind of building it from the back forward with 2 hands. That worked really well. You can kind of float the plates onto the threaded rod or bolt, get the spacers where you want them. And then you're gonna have all the pivots in place. So like this guy's bolted in there, so we know it's in the right location. Again, these guys are bolted into the fixture as well. And then we just use a few clamps. So once you have all that kind of internal structure in place, this bottom plate's gonna go on, and again, we're just using clamps to hold it up. This guy fits into place. A couple clamps over here just to hold everything together, and even on this guy over here, it doesn't have any internal ribbing over here yet. So to get it tight on the cup, I just shoved a 1, 2, 3 block under there to press it up, and then it's touching against the cup. With all that fitting done, now it's time to tack all these parts together in preparation of getting them welded. So I avoided tacking anything to the cup because we're gonna be heat treating this arm, and this cup's not gonna be in place for heat treat. We'll show you that later. But if I tack this on here, that's gonna be a problem because that's gonna get covered up with obviously the top plate. So I just tried to tack strategic spots Lots of the corners I didn't tack on top of the plates because we're gonna have plates go on top. So I just tried to do down in the corners, which you can see. Again, nothing to this cup that couldn't be cut out, because if I was to tack this plate on there, that's gonna get locked in. I'm not gonna be able to get at it. Same deal over on this one. I've just got the cup there for positioning, but I don't have the arm onto it. So now that all that stuff's tacked up, I'm gonna illustrate where we got a weld on this guy. Okay, to illustrate the welds for the arm before we put all those top pieces or overlays in, I thought I'd show you guys on the computer kind of what you're gonna receive from us as an instruction manual, WPO we call it. So I'm on the website here. This is just tmrcustoms.com. I'm on the lower A-arms, part number 8106, and these drawings are actually pretty good reference, and once you're kind of into the arm, they make a lot more sense once you got all the parts in front of you. But anyways, let's get into that WPO so you can see it. So I've already downloaded it to my computer, but yeah, if we were to search for it, it's just by the part number, so 8106, and you guys will be sent these files, or you'll be able to download them from our website. Whatever you find easier will do for you. So it's just a Word document, docx. So if we open up that guy, here we are kind of from the start. So we're looking at the jig, where to weld on the jig, direction of the uniballs. Lots of that we've already covered and you guys have seen, but it's good to see here in color, in addition to the black and white prints I had on the bench I was looking at earlier. So this one shows you obviously which part of the jig or fixture is going to go on there. This guy shows the welding, the weld washers, which I've already shown. And then now down here, that looks at where some potential spots you can tack the uniball cups on. Again, you got to pay really good attention to how you're going to cut that cup out if you're heat treating the arm. So that's something to be aware of, which I've mentioned. And this is where I'm at now. So if you see all these red lines, those are the vertical sections we're going to weld now before we put all the top caps on the arm. So you'll see them here in this one view. Scroll down, you'll see them here in this next view. And essentially they oppose each other. It's like you're kind of doing a crisscross on each section, as well as a few keyways. Now, I went ahead and TIG welded all of those. Reason for that was I simply wanted to practice. A lot of these are like very tight, closed in joints, and they were a good challenge for me. I haven't done a lot of stuff for that. So some of them I ran vertical, some of them I'd flip the jig up on its end or up on its side to figure out what worked best for me. Same like this keyway is kind of an open corner, so it wasn't too bad. That one there, I believe I MIG welded because I couldn't get access to. Anyways, we'll go over and look at the actual arm, but hopefully that gives you an idea of what these WPOs look like. And all those sections in red are what I just welded up. And now we're on to putting all these overlay pieces in place. And I'll show you them all in this video because it's gonna make a lot more sense to see the parts actually on there. When I had all the parts in my bin earlier, some of it was like, where do these go? So Mike helped me out. We went in the actual CAD models and looked at them, and I just created a couple images for myself. This video is gonna be a huge help to you guys. So let's head on over to the actual A-arm and you'll see all these overlays are gonna be in place now. So here's that arm with all the overlays put in place after I welded up all those vertical sections, we'll call them, that are sitting underneath those. So I'll just give you guys a quick kind of 360 of the arm here. And then I don't mind, I'll talk about kind of each individual piece because I learned a whole whack of tips and tricks along the way that I'll share with you here. The first piece that I fit and got installed was this one here. So you can see it runs all the way from the uniball cup here along, goes in under this shock mount where there'll be a bolt here. And it's also connected to this one that runs over here, dips down again, and there's gonna be another shock bolt on this side. So that one was a little tricky to fit just because the length of it and the forming on these two shock pockets is pretty complex. What I found the trick for me was I slit here, and you can see where I've cut that, and that's separated this one from this one, and then I was able to kind of fit the big part on its own, separate from that, because the two of them were kind of fighting each other, just the nature of the part and how complex this one is. So once I split that, it was super easy. I could get that fit in, and it's easy to tell from the drawings, like the height of this, where it should be. And this one needed to grind a small bit there where it touches the uniball to get it to sit in nice. Or sorry, not there, in here. You can see a little bit of grinding on the inside where it touches that vertical tab, just so it sits in nice. But yeah, that one was kind of plate number 1, and the key to it was definitely doing that slice there. The second plate I installed was this one, which is right along the front of the leading edge of the arm. It was very straightforward. I don't know if you can see, but got a super tight fit in here, up against the uniball, threw one tack on there. It fit well into that key there. It fit nice into this kind of boxed keyway here, which a couple plates come into. Pretty cool setup. Fits nice around the key there, another key there. And then down here, it doesn't contact the uniball. It sits back, so it's gonna get welded onto that part. But that front leading edge went on very easily, and that was the second plate I installed on the lower A-arm. Next, I came over here and put this plate in. So you can see it abuts pretty much to that key there, and it runs in under the top and bottom and goes directly to the uniball. So don't get confused and think that it should be bent out here and hit the uniball. It's meant to run in underneath. There's gonna be like another cap or an overlay there, which is gonna be done later. But yeah, that one, very straightforward. It just runs in underneath. And then in conjunction with that, I did this bent plate. So you can see where it interfaces on that key there. It's a nice fit to the uniball in here as well as on top. And it runs in underneath this piece here for the sway bar. But I kind of did these two in conjunction, no major issues with them. They fit up nice. Next was 2 more tabs for the sway bar pocket. So there's this flat tab here. It goes on the end of that threaded rod there, and fixture's in place. It's gonna butt up to that. And then there's this bent piece which tucks in behind it. So they're very straightforward. I just kept them aligned here. You'll see you're gonna have a nice outside corner weld there. During welding, you're gonna remove the spacer, weld in underneath it, then put the spacer back in. But that one was really easy. Next, I did 2 more that fit within the shock pockets again. So this guy here is very simple. It's just bent, sits in underneath that shock eye there. So that was an easy one, as well as this one. Again, just a bent plate, sits in underneath the shock eye. Before I weld those in place, I am gonna get an actual shock eye and make sure I've got adequate clearance from here down underneath, as well as there down underneath. So yeah, this guy's gonna be the bypass. It's the bigger 5/8 bolt. That one there's gonna be the coilover with the smaller 1/2" bolt, but those 2 plates fit in very easily. Next, I did this funky looking one. You can see where it matches the cut of the uniball, but doesn't touch the uniball. It's essentially like an overlay plate that's gonna box things in, but it fits up nice. Again, you're gonna have good outside corner weld there, and then it kind of mates up and you're gonna have a sweet gap there to weld. This one was easy as well. It's kind of got a couple bends there. Fits nice along this bottom edge. You can see we're gonna get a good weld here, and a couple more outside corner welds up here and here near those 2 shock mounts. So it's just another plate to box. And this skinny one here is just like a little finger that's gonna fill that gap. So it goes right to the uniball. I've tacked it on there, put another tack there, and one at the back. But you can see it's a really basic part. It's only got 1 bend or form in it, so it's really easy to identify where that one fits. And I saved the most difficult one for last. This part's pretty complex. The geometry and bending and forming in it is pretty wild. What I found worked best for me was to split it. So I cut this seam here. Originally this was 1 part, but I found if I could cut that, it just gave me more leeway to kind of float this one in here, get it lined up. I put 1 tack in the corner here, and then I could do a better job fitting this one. So this one here you can see lines up in the corner there, runs along this surface, and basically tucks in nice there against the weld washer. So that's what worked best for me. Again, in terms of parts that I split, it was this one I split, as well as that first large one I showed you. Outside of that, all the parts stayed in one piece. The forming on these is really accurate and really well done, but those 2 I just found easier to to dice apart. I originally tried them as one piece and it was easier just to split them. That's what worked best for me. The other thing I'll point out is you can see I've got a few spacers removed. I just took some of these out during this process here, just allowed it easier to get in here and fit some of these parts. So taking those spacers out definitely helped. Again, with the shock one there. So the next step will be I'm gonna put all those spacers back in so this thing's fully back together. And after I get all those spacers back in, it's time for a lot of welding. So you're gonna weld everything you can with the arm in the fixture as it is. So I'm gonna weld everything I comfortably can get to with a good gun angle and whatnot. I don't wanna do anything wonky or out of comfort, we'll call it. So we'll do as much as we can there. Then the arm's gonna get unbolted from the fixture. We'll cut the uniball cups off. We'll weld in a spreader bar, just like we did on these upper arms. Same, we'll use the same stuff, 3x3 quarter wall, but just like we have those in there, we're gonna do the same here, and then that'll keep that from twisting. And once those spreader bars are in, then we can flip the arm over, weld up the whole bottom side and finish any welds we couldn't comfortably get to in the fixture. And we'll get all that welding knocked out, and then we'll go on to the passenger side arm. So same step, it's just mirrored of this. So it's gonna be a mirror of this fixture. These two pivots are gonna be over on that side. The single pivot's gonna be up on that side, and then we'll have a pair of lower A-arms done. All right, so that's gonna cover it on the video for the lower A-arms, part number 8106 for our IFS chassis kit. So hopefully that was a decent walkthrough. Gives you guys a better understanding of where all the parts say fit and how this arm comes together. So there'll be more after this is welded. There's one more piece of like armor or an overlay we weld on that front edge there, just because this front leading edge is obviously what's going to take rock damage and whatnot, and heat treating and lots to go. But hopefully this gives you a good idea, as well as you saw the weld process instructions, and you got a good idea for how you'd assemble one of these. So if you got questions or comments, post them up below. We're here to answer them and hopefully make your guys' life easy on assembling one of our kits or buying parts to build your own, or however you're going to do it. We're here to help. So just let us know what you like in these videos.